Three, two, one.
Well, I didn't even get the 3, 2, 1. I just went live.
Oh yeah, no, I saw it on my side.
Okay. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is your girl Wanda Godsbrat and of watching Wanda's World. And tonight I have my cousin, my sister cousin, Camille Turner, and I've asked Camille to come on because of her profession. Throughout the week, I saw several young ladies posting about nursing. What is the best school for nursing? Trials and tribulations that they were having with nursing. My cousin is an acute care clinical nurse specialist and an adult gerontology nurse practitioner, currently working with urology and hemodialysis patients. So I thought, what better way? Because, with my podcast, I try to bring on people that are doing positive things with their life and the community that can encourage, uplift, motivate, support, and inspire. So I first want to say good evening,
Good evening.
Camille. Thank you for coming on
Good
tonight.
evening.
And this is like blood, y'all. So we're going to be very informal. Camille is tired. She's had a busy day, and yet she still honored me with coming on tonight. And I thank her for that. I do want to get in, Camille, first of all, to talk about where did you go to school for nursing?
Well, I started my school journey at Morgan State, and originally I wanted to go to medical school. But when you're young and you think
Mm,
about all the years that you have to spend to go to medical school, you're not as smart and you're just like, oh, that's just too long. I don't want to do that. So, because I thought it would take too long to go to medical school, I said, well, maybe I can go to nursing school. It'll still allow me to help people, but I can do it in a shorter amount of time. So when I made that
mm.
realization, I decided to change my school from Morgan, who did not have a nursing program, and I went to Coppin State. So my undergraduate degree is at Coppin State, and they had an excellent nursing program at that time. The students there were very successful with passing the boards. So that's where I enrolled.
Good evening, Francine. Good evening, Dolores. Thank you, ladies, for joining. So I was telling because of your experience, I often tell people that Coppin was a wonderful place for nursing. Um, Now I know for a fact that you worked very hard at Coppin. I know that your bedside manner, even when I call you with all of my aches and pains, is phenomenal.
Thank you.
But tell me about your experience. Like, what would you recommend about the program? Just what was it like? Because I do have a young lady that I reached out to that's considering copping, and that's why I'm asking that
Okay.
question.
Back then, it was a very good program. We were a smaller school. Coppin was much smaller than it is now. So we were a very small class. I want to say we had about 20 to 25 nursing students. And pretty much you take all of your classes together. So you kind of become a
Mm,
family. So, it's an African American
okay,
college. So most of the teachers, of course, were African American. So, they want only the best for you. So it was a nurturing type of environment. But for anyone that has
mm,
gone to nursing school, nonetheless, it was still stressful. They wanted to make sure that they were rigorous in their training because, when you get out here and you're
mm,
working, you're not just pushing a pen or sitting at a desk or at a
right.
computer. there are times when you actually have someone's life, in your hand. So they were very, very, very vigorous in their testing. I believe all nursing programs that people tell me about are that same way, but that was many years ago. So I'm hoping their program is still good. I'm not in the city, but there is a big shortage of nursing. So multiple schools have nursing programs. For anyone that's interested, I would suggest that you do it. Going through the classes and taking the boards is probably harder than, actually getting your foot in the door and working as a nurse. Because once you have your degree, everybody needs a nurse. And you can go and work so
Mm.
many places. You can work in an office, you can work in a hospital, you can do pharmaceutical sales, you can do research. It's just so many different things that you can do with a nursing degree.
Okay, and Jarrell Allen said, and thank you for coming on. Jarrell said he went to Coppin as well. Now, and I know that you chose not to just get a. What exactly is your degree? First of all, your first degree, and then I know you continued your education and you keep continuing. So, what was your first degree, and where are you
My
now?
first degree, which is considered an undergraduate degree, was a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And then 10 years ago, I wanted to, like I said, advance in my career. Originally, my goal was to be a physician. So I had thought long and hard about it. And I'm like, okay, what can I do to get in a position where I can impact patient care a little bit more and do it in
Mhm.
an autonomous fashion? So I said I was going to go back to NP school like years before I actually went back. But in 2011, I finally went back
Mhm.
and I did my second degree, which was a master's at Georgia State University in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Okay.
So
So,
at that program, I am dually certified. So I'm certified as an acute care clinical nurse specialist and also as a adult gerontology nurse practitioner.
break that down for those of us like myself that don't know
So a
what they
clinical
mean.
nurse specialist may not directly take care of the patient, but they
Hmm.
impact the system of healthcare, designing
Okay.
protocols, patient education, maintaining safety, educating staff. That's kind of what the clinical nurse specialist does. Anything that involves the patient flow from beginning to end of the hospital. That's pretty much what
Hmm.
a nurse clinical specialist can do. The nurse practitioner
Okay.
side is actually more in line with like what a physician would be doing. So I actually see patients. They come to the office. I work with urology patients, and I also sometimes work with some hemodialysis patients, meaning people in kidney failure that have to get dialysis.
Hmm.
So with those patients, I'm seeing them, I'm figuring out why they're there. Once we figure that out, just designing a treatment plan, just like your doctor would when you go to see your physician. So
Hmm.
I do that 80% of the time.
So now, do you prefer the hands-on portion of patient care or the administrative side? Where do you feel that you're more effective?
Um, well, in nursing, you got to be effective in everything. One of the nursing
Mm.
mantras is if it's not written, it's not done. So you
Okay.
have to be, I love being hands on. I love taking care of patients. Even when I don't have to be hands on, I still am. But then you also have to be able to communicate on paper very well with colleagues, with patients, making sure they understand instructions and all that stuff. But administratively, I currently serve in a role where I have some administrative assignments and tasks, but I don't enjoy that aspect of nursing as much. I prefer seeing the patient, figuring out what's going on, getting them the treatments they need, following up, and making sure that they're doing well versus, I don't know, ordering some piece of equipment or doing this and doing that.
And that's where I see you. Like, I see you as like the old school nurse, like hands on, just your personality, your caring spirit. You're full of energy, even though you feel like you're not. We often talk about how you feel tired or whatever, but your compassion for people, like I can see that. Even when I was in Georgia and I visited you at work, like the way you cared for the patients, even in that brief interaction, just making sure after they came off of dialysis, making sure they had their fruit cup or something to drink, or and they weren't even, most of them didn't even speak
Mm-hmm.
English, so you definitely have the personality for it. Now, what do you find in today's healthcare setting to be the most challenging part of nursing, and then how do you combat that with whatever resources you have?
Well, there's always usually a lack of resources, whether those resources are personnel and people, or whether those resources
Hmm.
are time, or whether they're financial resources. Everything in healthcare has kind of changed over the many years that I've been, doing healthcare. Um, but what I would say is there is a lot of cost to have certain
Hmm.
procedures. Um,
Hmm.
some countries have universal health, and there's some pros and cons with that. But I just see sometimes so many people that cannot afford the care that they need, or cannot afford the medications
Hmm.
that they need, or can't afford to eat the way that they need to eat to prevent certain disease
Right.
processes. So those are the things that I think that have changed. um Medicines are getting more and more expensive. Things are getting more and more difficult for patients. Even stuff, something as simple as birth control, if you pay attention to politically what's going on in the country. So everything is really making it
Hmm.
more difficult for the patient to access care because, one, there are not enough providers. Two, when you have providers, you have to balance seeing enough patients to pay your overhead to keep your practice open versus
Hmm.
taking the time that you need to actually go through and take care of the patient without feeling rushed or something like that. So that's kind of one of the big
Hmm.
issues that I have. A lot of times you don't have enough time to do what you want to do, but you kind of have to move at a certain pace to maintain profits and to keep your doors open.
Right, right. And I can see that being a struggle for you because you're just so thorough. And even when I call you and it's like, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you did this? And did you consider that? And blah, blah, blah. And not having, like you said, when you have to weigh, it's almost, well, you have to weigh the care portion of it and be as conscientious about it as you can. But then, like you said, you also have to think about the profit, because if you're not effective with the timing, then nobody is going to have a job in
Correct.
the
And then
end.
insurances play such a big role in patient care. Time and time again, we might recommend the procedure for a patient. The patient's insurance company
Hmm.
denies it. We got to write an appeal letter. It's still denied. We might write two or three different appeal letters. So the insurance companies really, really, really hold the key to a lot of the issues and concerns that deal with patients, excuse me, and them getting what they need. And, you know, if
Mm-hmm.
you're a physician, I'm just giving you general numbers. Say if you're a specialist and you want to charge, you feel like what you did was worth $100. The insurance
Mm-hmm.
company is going to say, no, we're only going to pay 45 for that. And that's all that they're going to pay you.
Oh, wow.
So if you take their insurance, then that's all that they're going to pay you. And then the patient is going to be left with the remainder of that balance, even though they have a good
Right.
insurance or whatever. But the insurances pay at such a low rate. And then everybody tries to kind of pay around the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Um,
here.
oh,
My
okay. I was going to say I
Yeah.
can't see you.
I'm here. My camera just decided to do its own thing, but I am still here.
Okay.
Now, in dealing with the insurance angle, because even I don't know why it's doing that, but even like I remember back in the day when you went to have a baby, you used to be in the hospital like 3 days. Now
Mm-mm.
you can barely close your legs before
Right. Well,
before
the
they take
insurance
you
companies
out.
determine all of that. They determine for the average person having a baby that was a normal birth, the average length of stay, I'm just making this up because I haven't
Right.
researched the actual numbers, might be 24 hours. You know, if there was a complication, they might give you 72 hours. And if you get
Mm-hmm.
to that point, if there's no medical reason to keep you, and when I say medical, meaning something that has to be done in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital, they don't care if you can't walk from your refrigerator to your bed. They're going
Right.
to send you home and try to get you some physical therapy.
Right.
And whatever
I've been in that
services they can get
situation.
you to get out of the hospital, that's what they do.
I remember when I had my first back surgery. For those of you that don't know, I've had two back surgeries and I need a third. And God willing, I'm not having that third as long as I can walk and stand. But I remember being in so much pain, and they were telling Eric, "Oh, she's ready to go home." And Eric was like, "Do you see her? Like, how is she supposed to maneuver?" Not that he wasn't willing to help me, but it was just like we thought it was impossible. Like, I just remember that just being in such excruciating pain. And I could not believe that they were dumping me. I felt like they were dumping me on the street. I really did. But
Mm-hmm.
now, as far as you were saying, there's a lack of nurses or a need for more nurses. What, even though we have that with healthcare and they don't seem to care, what reasons would you give to the young ladies? Like, one is my quote unquote niece, that's currently in school for nursing, Tally. Another's a young lady, that's also my baby that I used to go to church with, Dania. um what would you say to them to encourage them to still proceed despite the challenges, in nursing and the medical field?
Um, One, I feel like if it's a dream and if it's your passion, you should go for it.
Hmm.
Two, I'm not saying you're going to be rich being a nurse, but you can definitely make a decent living.
Hmm.
Three, depending upon what area you work in, sometimes you can get a pretty good schedule.
Hmm.
Um, One, it allows you so many different employment opportunities. Like I said, you can be a bedside nurse, a hospital nurse, do research. You can be
Hmm.
a utilization review nurse, which means just reviewing charts and making sure that the charts look good for a patient. You can do pharmaceutical sales. You could work with devices and equipment. So there are just like so many different things that you can do other than just being what you quote unquote think that a regular nurse would be doing. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this a
That's
little
okay.
slow.
Look, you know, you saw what my computer, my camera did. Now, you chose to continue your education. How far can you get with that initial I think you said you had a bachelor's of science in nursing. Can
Yes.
you just get that and that be it, or is it something that you do have to continually go to school for?
I mean, if you want to just get your bachelor's, you can definitely stop there.
Hmm.
In nursing, there is always some continuing education that you have to do to maintain your license. So they call it CEs, which stands for continual education. So depending upon what state you work in, you have to have a certain amount of those each time you go to renew your license. So there's always additional learning. There's always new medications coming out, new procedures, new techniques, new equipment. So it's always something new to learn.
Hmm.
So it's continuous learning. It may not be you going to college, but there's always a continuous need to update and get more information.
Okay. And then, like, do you find you personally, because you're a wife, you're a mom, and you're a nurse, and not just a regular nurse, you're a practitioner. How do you do work life balance? Like, let's talk about that. Like, is it stressful, or do you find that you maneuver pretty well with it, or how is it?
Right now, I feel like it's probably pretty stressful. One, we're understaffed where I work, so we're kind of always doing extra stuff, and then that may keep you at work a little bit longer. And then
Hmm.
two, I started a family kind of late in life, so I have younger kids. Um, so they
The
just require
baby.
a little bit more time. But I
Hmm.
mean, outside of those things, I genuinely love what I do. I love meeting new people, taking care of patients, seeing how I can help, developing relationships with people.
Hmm.
So all of that aspect of it, I like. It's just sometimes hard to adequately manage your time.
Yeah. But then again, like you said, if it's something that you're passionate about, even though it's work, you don't seem
Right.
to mind it as
That's
much.
true. And I just try to do little things. Before I had kids, it was a thing of mine to always go somewhere every 3 months. Now that I have little ones, I can't do that. But
Mhm.
I try to do some self care. That's like a big term now.
Right.
Doing massage, just going out, meeting up for lunch with some nursing friends, just whatever. So
Hmm.
those are the
Hmm.
things instead of being able to actually physically go somewhere, as they would say, I do a staycation versus a vacation.
Right. 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 I um I definitely get it. Even though I can't work right now, just came off of my sabbatical. Even with doing my makeup lives, I was taking a moment of self-care because I just, my body was just going through so much, and that's very important. So I'm going to encourage you to always put self first. And I know that's often hard when you have little ones, but
Mhm.
it really is that theory, like being on the airplane. You have to take care of yourself first, because if you're not good, if you're maneuvering from a glass that's half empty as opposed to half full, you're no good to no one.
Mhm.
So I am going to try to get down there because I owe you and Ryan a night out, because I left Georgia before I got to babysit the baby, so y'all can have a little night out and everything.
We'll take it anytime.
Yes, and or when you come up here. When you
Sounds
come up
good.
here, bring them over and y'all get to go out on me, because this
Sounds
is
good.
this is more than my cousin. This is my sister. When I say she is so there for me, she loves me. I love her. And when I call her, I probably call her. I know she probably get tired of diagnosing me, but when I call her with an issue, sometimes I'm embarrassed. It seems too personal to talk to with just my doctor or whatever. I can talk to her about anything, personal, medical, whatever. There's never any judgment. There's never, I never feel ashamed or embarrassed. And just in how she is with me, even though I'm family, I can only imagine how she is as a nurse. She
Thank
is
you.
one of the most empathetic, sweetest, caring, no nonsense, because she will put me in my place when she needs to. But we all need that person that will tell you what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear. And she encompasses it all. So I wanted to bring her on today to give these young ladies and men a realistic view of the nursing profession from someone that is the ultimate professional, in my opinion.
Why, thank you.
And I'm not going to hold her long because she just got in. She hasn't eaten and she does have little ones. But on closing, Camille, is
Oh,
there
well, before you
anything?
close, I'll just tell you the people that are truly interested in nursing school is some things
Mhm.
that you need to do.
Right.
One, you need to be prepared to study and be
Mhm.
prepared for hard work. Um,
Mhm.
you will have to kind of dig deep and be in the trenches, but it's just for a specific amount of time. Nursing isn't the class that you can go and do XYZ and you're going to get a B or whatever. You
Mhm.
know, most nursing schools, a 70 isn't passing. At my nursing
Mhm.
school, it was a 78 or higher. And just think about it. You don't want your nurse barely passing her medicine exam. You know,
Exactly.
want them to know what they're doing. So if you really want to be a nurse, and some people have to do some soul searching because
Mhm.
sometimes nursing sounds very glamorous,
Mhm.
but it's not all the time. So maybe you just want to be in healthcare. Maybe you need to be an echo technician,
Mhm.
someone that does X-rays, EKGs, a phlebotomist.
Mhm.
There are a couple different jobs that you can do and be in the hospital. Respiratory therapist. But when it comes to nursing, it's going to be rigorous. It's
Mhm.
going to be stressful. So you really just need to be able to grind it out. If you're starting from scratch, most nursing programs are at least 3 to 4 years if you're doing the bachelor's. They do have associate's degree that you may be able to do in 2 or 3 years. So just be prepared and try to get your life set up in a way where as though you're going to be able to adequately study and do your clinical, because it's not just this one class. You have the class and then you have clinical hours. So if you need to save up some money so that you don't have to work as much when you're in school so that you can devote your time to studying, be
Mhm.
prepared to do that. You know, if you're grown and you live on your own, maybe consider moving back home to save some money. Um, if you know someone that just finished the program, buddy up with them, see what they did. um, find a community of like-minded people. Get
Mhm.
yourself a buddy when you get in school, and you guys commit to grinding it out. So just I would just say it's very fulfilling. If you really
Mhm.
want to do it and you have the passion for it, I would just say make the provisions to make it happen.
That was going to be my last question to you. But my girlfriend Dolores, my sister girlfriend, said, Camille, I am so proud of you. It gives us such
Thank you,
pride to see
Lois.
you and others that look like yourself when we enter into a medical facility. Keep your passion, family time, and rest balanced because we need for the children to become inspired by seeing you helping them or other family members. Black Girl Magic.
Oh, why, thank you. And I'll just kind of put it out there. The two areas that I work in, I'm very passionate about. Um, I work in urology. So that's anything from kidney stones. I do a lot of prostate cancer treatment, renal cancer, voiding dysfunction, BPH, all of these things. But anytime you're dealing with any type of cancer patients, you really have to have a certain level of compassion
Hmm.
and have a certain level of dedication. So that's one thing. But then
Mhm.
personally, the hemodialysis thing is a close thing for me. Wanda knows this because we're cousins, but on my father and her mother's side of the family, there are a lot of sisters and brothers that have kidney disease, and it's
Right.
very, very, very problematic for a lot of people in my immediate family.
Right.
I've had aunts, uncles, cousins, several on hemodialysis, several that have died from kidney failure. Hypertension is kind of rampant in the
In
African
the
American
family.
community. And that's
Hmm.
one of the big causes and triggers of this renal failure. So it was just a way to kind of look in a little bit and look at something that is very close to me,
Hmm.
because it's in my genes. So I just, we had a cousin who died just from bleeding out from his dialysis catheter. So
Right.
I was just thinking, like, where can I work so that I can give some education to somebody so that this
Hmm.
same thing doesn't happen? I mean, it's so simple, but you can just literally just bleed to death from your dialysis catheter. And I've seen
Right.
that two family members that I know. So,
Right. And then we have different ones that are on dialysis, Auntie Merle, and
mhm,
and that's one thing. Like I am so afraid of. Like I have enough health issues, but it's like I'm always, if you see me, I'm drinking water, I'm doing this, and I'm doing everything to try to keep my renal health together because
mhm.
it's so problematic in our family. And Camille keeps me on the straight and narrow when my weight is getting too big, too much. You like, when's the last time you
I need to reel myself back in right now.
but we keep each other together, and that's the blessing of having a sister cousin. I thank God for her,
I thank God for you too.
and I appreciate all that you do for me. And on behalf of all of your patients, I'm thanking you for them because I can only imagine the patience and the compassion and the care that you give to them. Like
I
really.
do my best. Yes, I
I
do.
know you do because you have a spirit of excellence, and that's one thing I can say about us. When we put our minds to something, we have
Mhm.
a spirit of excellence. We don't know how to half do anything.
No.
So that's the one thing I can honestly say. But did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I don't know if anybody else has any questions. I don't know how this platform works, but thank
Um,
you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I'm a
Anytime.
little nervous speaking in this type of environment, but hopefully it looks okay.
It looks
But anytime you
wonderful.
need me to come back on, I would love to talk about those two top topics. Prostate cancer is very prevalent in the African American community, and hypertension and renal disease is very problematic in the African community.
Where
So
does
if you ever want to,
colonoscopies fit in with, I'm sorry, where does colonoscopy, because I do want to have a topic on colonoscopies and the fact that we need to get them. I did have mine before you
yes,
asked me.
there has been an increase in people with colon cancer.
Mhm.
Colon cancer is on the rise, and people are getting younger and younger and younger. And when they're being diagnosed, they're in stage 3 and 4, whereas though they've had the cancer spread to multiple parts of the body. So
Mhm.
the colonoscopy is very important. That's where they look at the lower half of your GI tract.
Mhm.
It's not related to urology, but it is definitely another health condition that's on the rise. So I would encourage anyone, the standards used to be when you got to be 50, you would
Mhm.
have a colonoscopy. They have since changed those guidelines, and they're kind of based on you and your family history.
Okay.
Um, but I definitely recommend that everybody at least 45 and up. Look into it if you haven't had one. They have some other little ways to assess your colon health. Sometimes you can just send in a stool sample,
Mm-hmm.
but the colonoscopy really is the best way because it allows the GI doctor to actually visualize your colon. And sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
have these little polyps that form and they're precancerous. But if you can get them removed
Mm-hmm.
before they turn into cancer, then, you've saved yourself from having colon cancer. People are
Okay.
eating more and more and they're doing more processed foods. Uh, Foods are being manufactured differently. So there are just
Mm-hmm.
so many things that are contributing to, the increase in colon cancer.
Okay.
But like I said, prostate cancer is very prevalent in African American men, especially men of Caribbean descent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any males out there, making sure that they're going to get a rectal exam, which nobody wants to do, getting their PSA checked, which is a special blood test screening for prostate cancer. I would recommend those things at, earlier ages. A lot of these things weren't recommended till you were in your 50s, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say start younger, maybe in
Okay.
your 40s to, as
Well,
far as the
the
renal disease, seeing a primary care doctor routinely,
mm-hmm.
getting your blood pressure checked, getting a physical exam. The key to a lot of what's going on in America is everybody's so busy working, trying to make a living that you're not making time for exercise.
Right.
No one is making time to sit and do a nice home cooked meal.
Right.
There's a lot of fast food, purchasing things, that are quick and easy to eat. So sometimes a simplified life is a better life. So if you
Amen.
can, get your time together where so you're doing 30 minutes to 45 minutes or an hour of just some general exercise in a day,
Mm-hmm.
lowering your stress, eating healthy, um, cutting out a lot of the animal proteins,
Mm-hmm.
um, do more plant based if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, fruits and vegetables, water. So, like I said, just simple stuff: water, fruits, vegetables, exercise, less
You would
meat.
be so proud of me. Last week I walked twice and I went to the pool and did
Oh,
pool
good.
exercises.
Yeah, the
So
pool is awesome. The
yeah.
pool is very good for anybody that has joint issues.
Yeah, and I said that I'm gonna challenge myself because I mean, I hurt afterwards because I wasn't used to it, but while I was in there, I
Mhm.
felt so much better. And I just want to get active. I'm like I said, I'm on this self care. I preach it all the time, and I'm on it mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and you have to prioritize yourself. Dolores is definitely interested. We have to put you back on the books whenever you have time. Dolores said this was such a great conversation as
Oh,
two
thank
people
you,
in my
Dolores.
immediate family have stage 4 kidney disease. She said she
Mm,
hopes that you can return again so that she can answer you can answer some of her questions that pertains to her family. So Dolores, get your questions together and Camille and I will talk about when is a good time for
okay.
her to come back.
Yeah.
And
Then one
okay,
thing that I just thought about, and Wanda, you can do this too. I don't know if anybody does any of those genetic testing. I think somebody gifted me a 23andMe
I got
um,
an
test.
ancestry.com. I did one of
Yes.
those.
So I did one of those tests, and when I did it, there is some DNA issue that is tied to this kidney disease problem. So if
Hmm,
she's ever done one of those tests, she can kind of look up there to see if she has that genetic trait.
trait.
And
Okay.
that's something, knowing about something genetically can help
Hmm.
you, I mean, you can't change your genetics, but just knowing about it and knowing that you're predisposed to more issues may make you change your behaviors and, do things
Right.
a little bit differently. So I actually looked at mine and found that out, and I was like, "Oh, well, maybe this is why everybody in the
His
family is
family,
having
right?
kidney disease." So that was something that I just looked up about 2 or 3 weeks ago and saw that.
I have to look at my ancestry.com and see if they
Hmm.
had that. Like, I know different areas based on my mom and my dad where I come from, but I have to look and see if that's there. And having worked in years ago in the Department of Human Genetics, genetics is so important as far as these traits that we have that we may not be aware of.
Hmm.
So oh, thank you, Dolores. She said, proud of you for using your platform to promote matters that really impact our communities. That's what I'm trying to do, Dolores. It's my little world, but it's things that I find important, impactful, things I really try to encourage, motivate, support, inspire. That's what I'm here for. I do believe God is using me. I may not always know how I'm being used in the moment, but later on, someone will inbox me or in a conversation, someone will say, you know, I saw and I learned. And so he uses even a fool like me. So, with that, I'm going to let my cousin go and enjoy her beautiful family. Kiss my babies for me.
I sure will. Well, thank
Okay.
you for allowing me to share. Thank you for inviting me. Let me know whenever you want me to come back. Give me a little time and a topic, and I'll try to actually maybe just do like a real
You
educational
know what?
session.
Let's do this a different way. You are the professional. What do you think? Dolores is going to have some specific questions,
Okay.
and I'll try to get her questions in
Well,
advance.
the next time we talk, let's talk about kidney failure and kidney disease
Okay. Okay, that'll
and
work.
hypertension. We'll group those two together.
That'll work. That'll work. So we'll put it on the books. Dolores, see what you started. So we'll put that on the books at a time that she's not tired and she's rested a little bit, and we can go in. Because as a matter of fact, Camille, with this platform that I have, it's a whiteboard and everything, so we can really take the time and do practices, and you can, if you need to do diagrams or whatever, we can do that on our own to show you how to use the program, and then that way it'll just flow.
Okay, I'm not that technically inclined, but we'll see
we'll make
what
it
I
do
can
what
do.
it do.
I'll come. I'm
Yeah.
old school. I'm gonna have mine written down on my paper with my bullet points, and we just gonna talk
Okay.
about.
All right. That'll work. That'll work. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say, as you go about your day, if you see a queen with her crown a little bit twisted, help that queen to fix her crown. If her crown has fallen off, please help her to pick it up and put it back on her head. Whatever you've done to help that queen, please zip your lips and not feel the need to tell the next person what you did to help that queen get her life back in order. Sometimes we need a safe place where we know that we can just unload and it's not going to come back to us from another source. Be your sister's keeper. And with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings. Don't look at my fingernails. Look at what I'm saying. Remember that the enemy separates and we unify. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll talk to you in a little bit, cuz.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank
Good,
you.
good night, babe.
All right. Bye bye.
Mm-mm. Yeah, the stream doesn't want to end.
Okay. Should I just leave and
Yeah,
then
you
call?
can go in and leave, and I'll figure it out. All
Okay.
right, baby. Mm-mm. This will be. That's funny. My computer is just stuck there. There we go.